What is going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today we're going to talk to you on SoFi. I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down on what's really affecting SoFi, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. SoFi is currently down 3.05%. Pre-market, there was a hell of a lot of optimism. It was up about 1.7%. I even did include SoFi in my pre-market video where I did say that it did look like it wanted to break out. Of course, once the market opened, it just tanked. And that is a very clear indication that there is manipulation, as I brought up a couple videos ago. But aside from that though, today there has been no news, no SEC filings from SoFi itself. And even looking at some of the activity so far today, it's abnormal. So it's not a lot of algorithmic trading, rather it is just institutions selling for whatever reason. And of course, there's a lot of fears out in the market that's really plaguing a lot of growth stocks and just broader indexes as well. So institutions are selling for whatever reason, and a lot of people have seen so far saying that it is shorts bringing it down. That's not necessarily the case, so I'll give you a quick overview of that. Out of anything, this is kind of optimistic. So shorts right now are returning 165.98 thousand shares, which as of right now, 13.68% of the free float is being shorted. 122.41 million shares overall are being shorted. So the fact that shorts are returning, that does add buying pressure. So technically it doesn't really jive with that whole mentality that it is shorts bringing this down. This legitimately is just institutions. You do see some abnormal candles right here, so maybe some big money is buying SoFi right now, but it's not looking good on the technical front, at least. There's a couple of things, developments I do want to talk on, one of which was a new analyst rating. So Mizuho, Dan, who does have a 51% success rating, gave a buy and a $12 price target, but no different than any other time. If analyst ratings are bullish, then it gets brushed under the rug. If it's negative, then mass panic. So once again, I feel like this is a good thing that analysts are still warming up to SoFi, seeing a pretty substantial discount, right? Like if they're thinking $12, that's a good thing. Even Bank of Montreal, Barclays, like James, who has a 63% success rating, 51, they think $9, $10, $11. So a lot of analysts are very optimistic about SoFi. And plus there's about 7 trading days left before their earnings, depending on if you count today or not. And I have been monitoring to see if any analysts are changing their earnings per share or revenue estimates, and so far nothing. But when it comes down to their upcoming earnings, a lot of people are going to be watching the growth, even member growth as well, right? Because if members go up, then products go up, and most likely deposits follow suit as well. But interestingly enough, there was a podcast with 𝗪𝗓𝗧𝗛, and they do talk on SoFi. I'm sure a lot of people already know 𝗪𝗓𝗧𝗛, if I'm saying that right. But beside the point though, so 𝗪𝗓𝗧𝗛 isn't necessarily bullish or bearish on SoFi. He's neutral. And so I wanted to play this kind of part because it kind of shows what the mentality of institutions might be for SoFi's upcoming earnings. So once again, I just wanted to quickly play this.
SoFi. Do you have any thoughts at all about this as a fintech? Are you excited at all that people say it's incredibly undervalued? They're going to be profitable in about 30 days. How do you feel about this company?
Yeah, I think they're going to get to profitability, but I don't know. You know, I've done a few SoFi analyses before. I come away not bearish or bullish. Like I look at the company, I go, they're financially stable, they're sound, they got their banking license, which I'm very impressed by. I think they've done all the right things.
Right.
I don't know that they're going to sustain the user growth. And I think that's the biggest bet that folks make on SoFi is user growth. Coming out of the pandemic, it's so hard with the fintechs because everything had so much user growth.
Right.
And so that's one of the only reasons I like PayPal, because people are like, they're not going to grow. And I'm like, well, if they grow a little, that's better.
Right. I mean, the market's parsing them in for having the same free cash flow and revenue for the next 10 years, growing at 0%. And they grow a little bit, things change.
Exactly. Yeah.
On SoFi as well, do you think because banks are becoming more digitized that they have market share to take away from JP Morgan and Bank of America, or it's just such a stretch given those banks are so big that it's not that big of a deal?
We're gonna lose a lot of banks over the next decades. The fact that there are 4,000 something banks in the United States is stupid, and there's really no reason to have your money outside of the biggest banks, unless you have really special relationships that you're getting from your local community banks, which veterans do, local service workers do, firefighters, doctors. That's wonderful. Like, take those relationships. The credit unions, they have to compete, so they come up and whatever, the local banks, small banks, they have to compete. So they have better loans and better services.
So yeah, there you have it. He kind of goes on for a little bit, for 20 seconds longer, but Amit does bring up one very good point. And I'm not going to play this video because it's 6 minutes long, but just to put it in perspective, this video is all about how banks are essentially needing to really develop AI going forward. So you can kind of even see just the title right here once it pops up. It's just the fact that banks, or the bigger banks, brick and mortar, are going to develop and kind of work on AI. So bank CEOs, so this is Deloitte CEO, talks on how in 2024, they're going to be investing quite a lot in AI. And I feel like that's going to be the mentality of a lot of the old school banks. So SoFi definitely does need to get their stuff together and grow as fast as they can and keep a lot of this competitive advantage that they previously did have. And one thing I just wanted to bring up. So speaking on competition, exactly what 𝗪𝗧𝗡𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧 did say is kind of a negative within that sector is this. So this was posted about Robinhood. I don't have Robinhood because I live in Canada, but beside the point though, SoFi does that 2% match, right? And so technically having a 3% match on retirement, so transferring in, that is very good, meaning a lot of competition for SoFi. Even once SoFi was leading the pack in APY, now they kind of seem just to be middle of the group, right? There's Moomoo, there's Interactive Brokers, there's even Robinhood that do all have very high APYs, and some of them much higher than SoFi's. So it is kind of realistic to assume that there is going to be a slowing in member growth, as what it once was throughout 2023. So that's clearly just the mentality of what maybe some big money is interpreting. So I think 𝗪𝗧𝗡𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧 does bring up some good points, but Anthony as a CEO, I think he is absolutely brilliant. So once again, I feel like that's a good thing, maybe for 2024. We'll just have to sit tight and wait. But options wise, so right now $2.48 million in calls being purchased versus $5.44 million in puts. Sentiment wise, 49% of all the options being done today so far is bearish. Of the call options that are being purchased, it is anticipated for it to be above 750. So still the optimism has gone down quite a lot. Looking at puts though, it is anticipated for it to be sub $7. And like I have brought up, the Elliott Wave technicals have been pointing that SoFi is going to be trending to kind of the low 6s to high 5s. And oddly enough, a lot of the stocks I have been watching, the Elliott Wave technicals have been almost 100% on point, such as even Lucid, Tesla, Rivian, like a lot of stocks with the exception of Polestar because that's having abnormal volume right now. But beside the point, like who knows? We'll see if SoFi does trend to that low. I find it kind of extreme, but definitely the technicals are breaking down because even in my morning video, I did say that it needed to hold this 760 mark. So today SoFi is very active because it has touched both extremes. So this S3 and this S2. So $7.29 is a very strong support, kind of flirting with that right now. So if it does break that, then it'll kind of be in free fall or continue the free fall a little bit. And then $7.60, which that's what it was flirting with pre-market, didn't really have enough to get above there and stay there because I even said that in my pre-market saying that it needs to hold 760. If not, it is going to trend down, and that's the unfortunate circumstances that have occurred. Looking right here though, number of retail investors are still getting out based on the momentum indicator, and stochastic is at 4. So if there's a good piece of news that does come out, you are going to get a rush of value investors coming in. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And with all that said, I appreciate all of you watching.